And I woke up back in my bed, and at that point, I thought that had completely lost my mind. I knew I wasn't hallucinating, but it was the only logical explanation.
And that encounter was not an isolated episode. She has had numerous subsequent abductions. One memory is particularly harrowing.
I had a very vivid experience of having a fetus put into my body and removed. It's ridiculously hard for me to talk about.
Is Kim's experience corroborating evidence to others' accounts of baby harvesting? If so, why would an advanced race need human babies? One theory holds that alien evolution may have stalled, requiring human DNA for future development.
Some people hypothesize that their planet or where they come from is arid and barren, and they've lost their own reproductive capabilities, so they are trying to find a new genetic stock with us.
They do need our genes to propagate their own species.
It's a recurring theme that we hear from a lot of abductees. They're studying us, they're studying our sexuality, our emotions, and they're using us for some design goal as the center of this experiment.
Kim's story has been met with fierce skepticism.
I know how crazy it sounds for a woman to say she's been implanted with an alien fetus. I'm an intelligent woman, I'm highly educated, I know how the world perceives it, but I'm sorry, it's the truth.
To Kim and all abductees, the need for more research into the abduction phenomenon is urgent. Such study could either prove the reality of their claims or provide alternate answers for these troubling encounters.
An extraordinary phenomenon such as this demands an extraordinary investigation. It is irresponsible to dismiss it.
Next on Unexplained Mysteries. Are these alien encounters influenced by popular culture?
The more people know about what aliens are expected to look like, the more they're likely to describe an alien as looking like that preconceived idea.
Or is Hollywood merely mirroring actual incidents?
I think what was unique about Close Encounters is it was science fiction, and yet in a sense it wasn't.
They can't tell the difference between whether it was a memory or a real event, or whether it was imagination. And this is the problem.
And finally, we'll analyze the evidence in our UNX report on Unexplained Mysteries. Unexplained Mysteries. Taken. The Abduction Phenomenon. With reported sightings and alien encounters growing each year, so too have the skeptical inquiries from non-believers. Notable among this group are a number of prominent psychologists who claim that the real root of the UFO phenomenon lies deep in the unconscious mind.
It's what we call waking dreams. When people start to fall asleep, on many occasions, they have a peculiar mixture of reality and fantasy or dreams. And in this particular state of consciousness, which is an altered state, they see little aliens and they see spaceships and lights in the sky and so on.
But others defend the technique for abductees in this fragile state.
They appear to have been overwhelmed by an episode outside their own control and making, which leaves them in a post-traumatic state.
It is this very condition that makes them vulnerable to suggestion.
They can't tell the difference between whether it was a memory or a real event, or whether it was imagination. And this is the problem.
That's very interesting. Either there's something very special about this fantasy that causes what otherwise does not occur, or it's not a fantasy.
Others point out that abductions were scarcely reported before the science fiction boom of the mid-1950s carried visions of aliens into popular culture.
This is a composite of what they look like. Larger eyes, smaller nose, no lips, no protruding part of the ear, no hair, and a gray tone to the skin.
A New Hampshire couple, Betty and Barney Hill, made news by becoming the first to claim that they had been abducted by aliens. UFO experts point to the Hill abduction as a watershed event in alien evolution. But to author James Oberg, the case is notable for more earthly reasons.
A lot of Betty's memories are directly traceable back to a movie called Invaders from Mars. Many of the themes, many of the imageries from that film appear in almost recognizable form in Betty's story. In the account, there was kidnapping, being taken on board a flying saucer. There were needles being inserted into people's brains or other parts of their bodies.
Barney Hill's recollections focused on one major feature.
The unique feature here is these wraparound eyes, the eyeballs that move off to the forehead, off to the side of the head. It was very original, and yet less than 2 weeks after this face first appeared on television, Barney Hill, under hypnosis, suddenly remembered that his aliens had eyes like that, had eyes that wrapped around. Was it cause and effect? Did he see the show? Was his memory polluted by this Hollywood version? Can't prove it, but the sequence is highly suggestive.
By the early 1970s, Hollywood seemed to settle on an accepted standard for what an alien looked like. According to skeptics, this design trend was again echoed in the description by alleged abductees.
The thing you'll never forget when you look into the face of these things is the eyes.
Very large, intimidating black eyes.
Very small opening for a mouth, no ears.
Tremendous head, very thin body, long arms.
Yet, science fiction archivist Ron Miller traces images back much further.
It comes from fairy tales, science fiction, film, a lot of sources. They go back decades, even a century or more. One of the earliest sort of realistic depictions of an alien I have from a book that was published in 1884.
90 years later, a Steven Spielberg film about alien contact cemented the image. Did Close Encounters of the Third Kind also plant suggestions in the minds of future abductees?
Close Encounters, for good or evil, had an enormous effect on what people expected aliens to look like. And if anything really focused all these disparate threads into one sort of standard alien, it was Close Encounters.
But Joe Elvis, the production designer for Close Encounters, claims that logic is reversed.
I think what was unique about Close Encounters is it was science fiction, and yet in a sense it wasn't, because we weren't manufacturing something that was convenient. We took these things from all the encounters that we could record and sort of put it into the funnel, and it came out with these kind of images.
Kelly Fraze, a celebrated science fiction illustrator, is disappointed by the dominance of the gray, both in pop culture and in the reports of abductees.
I hate to think that the universe is so dull that that's the best it can come up with. Are we supposed to assume that only one race managed to accomplish space flight and come to the Earth? Or are there more races out there? If so, what do the other races look like?
When we come back, the UNX Report examines the facts and addresses the mysteries. What can we learn from all of these abductees reporting nearly identical encounters? And do aliens really have an agenda for mankind? Or is extraterrestrial contact the product of our collective imagination? That's the UNX Report, next on Unexplained Mysteries. Unexplained Mysteries, Taken, the Abduction Phenomenon. Now, our UNX Report. The past 40 years have seen a surge in reports of man being taken by aliens. Experts point to a number of signs as evidence of abduction, such as missing time.
This missing time aspect is very, very common in abduction experiences, where the person cannot remember where he or she was.
Other indications include strange medical symptoms and even implants.
It was in my leg for 34 years, and I finally decided to have it removed. And this is what they took out.
The use of hypnosis is increasingly being used to access hidden memories of alien encounters.
There were these little short off-white beings, naked guys with big black eyes, doing things to these people on these tables.
I felt as if somebody had taken my insides and just ripped me open inside.
Over and over again, we get these hidden consistencies in abduction reports which come out through hypnosis.
And there are striking similarities in the descriptions of the aliens.
Very large, intimidating black eyes.
Very small opening for a mouth, no ears.
Tremendous head, very thin body, long arms.
Many encounters now seem to reveal that an alien breeding agenda may be behind many abductions.
There's a very great interest on the part of the UFO occupants in human reproduction.
They do need our genes to propagate their own species.
I had a very vivid experience of having a fetus put into my body and removed.
Among the most compelling cases are mass abductions. Subjects are taken together and recall the same experience.
During the abduction, we would walk down this dark, dark road in a trance state.
I remember these creatures examining my brother with a type of wand.
Polygraph machines have further verified their accounts.
There's absolutely, positively no doubt in my mind that they are being absolutely honest with me.
But skeptics maintain that Hollywood is the real source of all alien sightings.
The more people know about what aliens are expected to look like, the more they're likely to describe an alien as looking like that preconceived idea.
One thing is certain. The complex reality of abduction will continue to spur debate as long as so many questions remain unanswered.
It is irresponsible to dismiss it. An extraordinary phenomenon such as this demands an extraordinary investigation.
Until that time, the alien abduction phenomenon will remain an unexplained mystery.